All right, everyone, good evening. Let me just make an announcement over on my main channel or my original channel, and then I will get started here. Let me just, not doing anything. Please join us. All right, that's been shared. Hello, Kweku Asasi. Okay, I hope I pronounced that correctly. All right, let me do one more thing here, and then I will start. All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Dr. Anwar Youssef Dunbar, and this is Big Discussions 76, Science and Technology. First of all, please like this stream or this video if you're watching it on the playback. Please share it, and guys, please subscribe to the channel. My channel right now is at 950 subscribers. So I am 50 subscribers away from 1,000. And that it will enable the super chat, and it will enable things like the AdSense. But I think the most important thing for me is that it will also enable a community tab, and I can share more information and more science that way, in addition to actual video and live streams. And actually, when you're doing video and live streams, you have to be a little bit careful about what you say. And with a community tab, I can share articles, I can share pictures and diagrams and all kinds of things. So if you're not subscribed, please subscribe to the channel, and please share, because I think I know that I have multiple channels, and in my opinion, this might be the most important channel of them all, because those of you who have view the channel regularly, and those of you who watched my live streams and my uploads, you guys have heard me go on and on about things like biochemistry and protein structure and function and enzymology and some of the stuff. For some of you, I know it might kind of go over your head a little bit, and you might wonder, what's he talking about? I try to relate it back to what's going on in the world, but it's important to talk about, because in our community, we don't talk about science enough, in my opinion. And I also think that this is important for STEM careers. I think it's important to start to disseminate this information for the younger generations, so that they can have the opportunity to partake in these careers, because we know that STEM careers are not going anywhere. And we're moving into an era of automation, space travel, all of that. A lot of things are coming down the pike. So I wanted to use this channel not just to talk science, but also to raise awareness of STEM careers, and also talk about ways that we can start businesses in the STEM sectors. So there are multiple things I want to do with this particular platform. Okay, so my guest of honor tonight is going to be the Prophet of Thought, Brother X. I'm going to read something, and then once I see X in the backstage, I'm going to bring him up, and I have a bunch of questions for Brother X about his background in mechanical engineering. And also, if I recall correctly, Brother X said that he went into business. He's in business with his training. So I think those are important things, and he's agreed to talk to us about that. So I'm going to start with an article here. Guys, the other thing, this channel is not monetized. So if you want to make a donation, I don't have a super chat. If you want to make a donation throughout tonight's discussion, you can, my Cash App and PayPal are here. And I closed all my folders. Give me a second. Okay, and I just opened the same Word file. Give me 1 second, guys. So again, yeah, I get on this channel and I talk about all kinds of science and facts, and I show you guys data, probably not as much data as Nicole shows, but one of the other things that's important here is awareness of the careers and how to do things with the training, like start businesses. So my Cash App and PayPal are here. I don't have a super chat here yet. I'm 50 subs away. If you're new, please like and subscribe. So I'm going to read a post regarding the stems from my blogging platform. Most of you know that I'm also a writer. So I'm going to read this. It's a short post. And then once I see X come in the backstage, I'm going to bring him up and we'll get this thing going. Okay. Let's see. So this post is entitled, and I think this goes really well with what we're going to talk about. Yeah, this post, I just found this one today. I have a lot of content on my blogging platform. And this is below in the description box. And it's titled Factors to Think About Before You Choose a STEM Degree. Okay. And the reality, guys, is you can get involved in the STEMs even without having a degree. I'm going to ask Brother X about his training. Need link. Oh, you need a link to the channel. Hold on. Brother X, this is the link to this particular stream right here. I don't know if that's what you were asking for. I saw that you shared it. Let me know in the chat and I'll give you what you need. Okay, so this is entitled Factors to Think About Before You Choose a STEM Degree. Okay, so this reads, 2 focuses of my blog are general education and STEM. The career you choose is one of the most important decisions you will ever make. While STEM degrees are very valuable these days, consideration should be taken before choosing a field of study. The following guest post is entitled Factors to Think About Before You Choose a STEM Degree. And the picture there is of some wind turbines. Okay, Brother X, give me 1 second. Just a second, everybody. Okay, Brother X, you should see that show up in your inbox right now. Okay. So that picture is of some very, very pretty wind turbines, which we see on land, but also which we see on the oceans and mountainsides as well. And I believe that mechanical engineers either designed those or built those or whatever. So this reads, STEM degrees cover the disciplines of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. The demand for jobs belonging to STEM has relatively heightened across industries for the past few years. With the high demand for STEM graduates, the salary offered in these jobs lives up to its expectations. That is why several students consider taking up a STEM degree when they enroll in colleges or online programs like online education. Though students may find STEM degree majors intimidating and formidable, graduates will most likely benefit from a higher job prospect compared to other degrees. Other than these major advantages, there are multiple reasons why a STEM career is an ideal path to take in the future. Nonetheless, it is crucial to consider a good deal of different factors before deciding on taking up the challenge to study for a STEM degree. So factors to consider. Okay. Factors to consider. 88% of college students choose their degree based upon their passion. Some students will prioritize choosing a degree that they are interested in to maintain a strong drive and desire to complete their studies after a few years. A STEM degree will be challenging to complete for plenty of individuals. That is why succeeding in this field can be difficult if a student has no interest and desire to learn about the field. Individuals who consider choosing a STEM degree based on their passion and interest will more likely experience contentment and satisfaction in their jobs in the future. In addition, job burnout and stress can also be avoided in the future as long as they love what they do and find joy in their careers. So security. On the other hand, some students will prefer to be more realistic when choosing a degree in STEM. Getting a college degree is already an investment in itself, as students pay money to study and master their chosen degrees. For this reason, most students prioritize the amount of security they can get in a specific career path. Not all STEM degrees offer equal earning potential. Some STEM careers, like chemists, psychologists, computer programmers, and geographers, get paid quite less compared to high-paying careers like surgeons, petroleum engineers, and IT managers. Even so, STEM degrees still earn comparatively higher than careers in other disciplines. Flexibility. I'm almost done, guys. A STEM major can specialize in different areas, as the unpredictability of the future can become a problem. Having a flexible STEM degree can be beneficial at the end of the day. For example, a degree in computer science can open up endless opportunities career-wise. As technology is apparent in society today, many areas in the industry use computer science graduates in different ways. It covers programming languages, software, algorithm design, and so much more. Moreover, a degree in math can also proceed to a variety of jobs and occupations. Expanding fields like forensic accounting and finance offer graduates an abundance of chances to gain all kinds of experiences in the industry. And this is the impact of STEM on society. Getting an education in STEM allows students to obtain skills, traits that can greatly impact the development of modern society today. Science, technology, engineering, mathematics have immense contribution towards creating solutions for major challenges and issues present in the world. With the skill set acquired during STEM education, current labor demands can be met. The field of science can allow students to establish a deep understanding and relationship with the world and strengthen skills in research. For technology, young adults have the opportunity to master and navigate today's digital age and become exposed to technologically advanced ideas and inventions. Engineering heightens an individual's problem-solving skills and develops the technical knowledge needed for future projects. Lastly, mathematics encourages students to have a critical mind and get used to analyzing information and formulas that can be applied to large-scale problems in the world. Overall, the different areas of the fields of STEM all have one thing in common. These disciplines have the power to shape and develop societies for future generations to come. STEM education upheaves social and environmental awareness as it can convey global issues and possible solutions to society. Students have studied in areas like science, technology, engineering, and mathematics are known to be outstanding innovators and critical thinkers. The knowledge, skills, and experiences they acquire during STEM education can sustain economies, eradicate world issues, promote globalization, and developing economies. As the world continues to change and evolve, civilization must keep up with its changes, which can be achieved with the help of STEM careers and professions. Okay, so I just wanted to read that. Keep in mind, I'm going to ask Brother X about his training. And my thought at this time is that, well, just to go into a STEM career, you don't always need to go the white collar route. There are other ways to get in, such as the military and so on, and so forth. So with that, I'm going to put this article away. This is in the description box below, and I'm going to bring up the Prophet of Thought. Brother X, how's it going? Uh-oh. Give us a second, guys. Brother X says, I'm seeing devices not connected from where I'm sitting. Royston Gibbs, hello. Oh, there he is. Brother X.
Peace, good doctor.
How you doing?
How is it, sir?
Good.
I'll go see. I had a little technical difficulties here, man. It happens in the old TPOT studio.
Yep. Let me adjust my volume here. All right. Well, thank you for coming out.
Oh, absolutely, man. Thanks for having me, doctor.
Okay. Yeah. One of the emphases of this channel is technology. And when I heard that you had a background in mechanical engineering and it sounded like you were in business, I said, yeah, I got to get Brother X over so I can learn something. So, all right. Well, I sent you some questions, and we'll go through those. If there's some time left, we'll answer some questions from the chat, or if someone wants to come up and say something, maybe we'll do that. I don't want to hold you too long because I'm not used to going on at nighttime. I know you are.
Yeah.
So we'll play it by ear. Everyone,
I'm here as long as you need me, Doc.
All right, everyone. Again, if you're new coming in, please hit the like and please subscribe. I need 50 more to get to 1,000 on this channel, and I put my Cash App and PayPal in there because this channel doesn't have a super chat. Anyway, so let's jump in. I hope you're having a good week so far, Brother X.
Oh, absolutely. So far, so good, man. So far, so good.
So, Brother X, thank you for coming to my channel to discuss your business activities regarding mechanical engineering. As one of the focuses here is technology, I thought this would be a good discussion to have. Before we start, just in terms of background, you're a New Yorker? Where are you from?
Yeah, I'm a native New Yorker. I've been living down here almost 8 years. So, but I came here straight from New York. I spent like most of my life in New York, born there, raised there, went to school there. So, but I'm an old fella now. So, I decided, once my kids start to grow up, when I moved down here, my youngest child was 16. So, all my other kids, they were adults. So it was time to make a move. I wanted to go into business when I was in New York, but it just was more economically feasible to do it here in the South because I'm in North Carolina now. So,
okay. If I recall correctly, the Charlotte area?
Yes.
Okay. As you know, I attended Johnson C. Smith.
Yeah, man. Yep. You told me.
Class of 99, general biology. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So what initially got you interested in mechanical engineering? Were you always good with your hands and tools? Actually, that's something you were interested in, and we'll start with that.
Yeah, well, my father was a landscape architect. He used to do hardscapes, landscapes. He used to design them, draw them out, do blueprints. And as a child, 7, 8 years old, I was always with him, out there doing the hardscapes, doing the landscapes, installing driveways, cobblestone, trees, bushes. I was always out there. And he had a bunch of equipment. He had skid steers and bulldozers and the like. And he always had like problems with them. And him and I used to work on, me and my dad used to work on that machinery. And when we couldn't fix something, he would have to take it to somewhere else. and they would do it, and I saw how they raked them over the coals. But the interesting thing is that when I was working along with my dad, I hated it. I never thought I'd be working around machinery and systems and engines. I never thought it in a million years, because I actually wanted to be an electrical engineer, not a mechanical engineer. um I did do some schooling in electrical engineering, and I tried that and I didn't like it. So I went back to school, and got a degree in mechanical engineering. And I've been doing it ever since, but I've always been a tool guy. I mean, ever since I was like 7 years old. I mean, I always knew my way around the toolbox, always knew my way around engines, always knew my way around construction equipment, landscape equipment, ever since I was like 7 years old. So, the engineering and the mechanics and the mechanitronics, all that kind of stuff, it came pretty natural, man. Came pretty natural.
Okay. Um, so my next question was going to be, the answer is yes. Have you worked in this field your entire life? So before we go on, and everyone, give me a second, Brother X. I just want to share this with everyone. Everyone, I left this article because in the biological sciences, I'm not 100% familiar with what all is entailed in mechanical engineering. So I pulled an article. This is below. I'm sure X is going to talk to us about some of this, but this is entitled "What is Mechanical Engineering?" But that's below if you want to read something afterwards. So just briefly, Brother X, my research about the field. From my research about the field, it sounds like it's very broad, and it's like you have to choose a specialization within it. But before we get to that, can you just briefly talk about the difference between electrical engineering and mechanical engineering? Because you said you did some study with electrical.
Yeah, well, mechanical engineering is, you're basically using a bunch of, engineering, physics, mathematics, science. And what you basically do is you design, you build, and you maintain, any particular mechanical system. Um, Electrical engineering is somewhat similar. It's pretty much the same thing. You design, you do a lot of spec work, for electrical systems, electrical mechanics, and things of that nature. So they're actually similar. They're similar in a way. So they're not that much distinct from each other, to be honest. It's just a different set of principles that you use in each one of those fields. I tried electrical engineering, I didn't like it. So, I mean, mechanical engineering, it suited me better. It was just a better fit, man. Better fit for me. But they're not that different. They're not that different. They're really not. They're not.
Okay. So what training level or what training did you have to get for this field? Did you well, go ahead and tell us.
Well, I have something called an AAS. All right, it's Associates in Applied Science. It's a little different than a regular associate's degree. An AAS pretty much gets you ready to get on out there and work. Because when I started out as a mechanical engineering technician first. That's how I started out. The engineering itself came later on. After being a engineering technician for almost 6 years. Yeah, 5 6 years of just being a technician. Um, I moved up in the ranks pretty quickly, working for other people, and it went out from there. You learn while you're doing it. Well, at least you're supposed to. You pretty much learn while you're doing it. Um, I got better at it, man. But I've always been savvy with tools, and I've always understand how mechanical systems work. So it came pretty natural to me as a young guy. Uh, I did it for a long time, more than 2 decades for other people. I didn't start my business till 2014. I've only been in business for almost 8 years, a little more than 7 years, almost 8 years. but I worked for other people, man, for more than 2 decades, doing this stuff, man. And I find myself doing more maintenance and repair than engineering. Engineering is probably only about 35% of what we do. You know, the other is maintenance, repair, modification, um, power ups, as we call it, because you know we do a lot of power equipment. We also work on steam systems. We do steam room work. We do some thermodynamics. We do mechanical dynamics. What else? We do engine structural analysis. You know, we do a lot of that stuff. So, like you said earlier, I mean, mechanical engineering is very broad because it's not all the same. You know, because you have aircraft, you have weapons, you have military, you have biomechanical engineering. I mean, mechanical engineering, man, covers so many things. But me, I'm basically um, power mechanics. What we do is we design, build, uh, maintain, and repair power mechanic systems, like commercial generators for buildings. We do a lot of modification on power equipment. We do modifications on motorcycles, outboard motors, and 90% of the engines that we design, we also do the build, and we also do the maintenance and repair as well. So I mean, it's full encompassing because I'm still turning wrenches. It's not like I'm just walking around with a clipboard all day. You know, I'm actually still turning wrenches. So there is that.
Okay. Um, well, there's a lot there. So let me start with this. I think pictures will be helpful to the audience watching live on the playback. When I was thinking about this, for some reason, I was thinking about engines. Everyone that there's an automobile engine, there's a jet engine, a turbine, and that's actually an engine for a space shuttle. But I was thinking about engines, and can we go back and because you mentioned something about buildings and what go back. Can you go back and talk about where your path led you? Were you trained to work on all these things? Or were you trained to work on specific building systems, or what were you? Can
Well,
you break it down for us?
well, when you talk about my formal training, I learned commercial generation dynamics, of course, power equipment, heavy equipment. I learned heavy equipment operation. A lot of the stuff I've learned over the course of the years, uh, certified in many of them, all of them that I do. Now, when you talk about, you mean building when it comes to building an engine, or do you mean how the work we do inside of certain buildings?
Well, the work you do inside certain buildings. I guess I'm trying to get to. It sounds like you have a skill set. You have multiple skill sets, uh, and I'm trying to get you like what types of systems, or
Okay.
do you know how to work on multiple systems? You know how to work on
Yeah.
engines? Do you know how to work
Multiple
on?
multiple systems.
Okay.
Multiple systems. But when you're talking about, for instance, like we're contracted for some schools here, and a lot of schools have something called a steam room, right?
Yep.
Where all the controls are there. When you're talking about the electricity, the water systems, all that kind of stuff is down there. And what we do for most of them is we do maintenance for most of them. You know, we will change the circuits, we will change the relays, we'll run tests on it. We have a contract with the movie theater here. They have a commercial generator. I mean, the generator is so big that you actually walk into it like a room. It has its own door. and that's considered a steam room. But what it really is a super efficient, super big commercial generator. That's all a steam room really is, you know. We do that. We walk in there, and what we do is we maintain it. We make sure it's firing when it's supposed to. We make sure the circuits split when they're supposed to. We make sure the GFI split when they're supposed to. We make sure it's oiled. We make sure it's not leaking. We check the numbers on it. We check the timing ratio from when the power goes out till the generator comes back on. You know, we come in there and we do that. But we also design generators. I mean, we can build you an engine. And it doesn't matter what it is. Like, if say you have a bulldozer and you want your bulldozer to have more power, more speed, we can modify your engine, or we can design you a bigger engine and install it. We can do that too. We can do that for motorcycles. We can do that for outboard motors. We can do that for commercial lawn equipment. We can do that for power equipment. We work on power equipment. We do turbines. We do hydraulics. You know, I mean, it's very broad what we do, but most of our work consists of power equipment. You're talking about bulldozers, skid steers, backhoes, payloaders, commercial lawn equipment, and commercial generators. That's what we do primarily. That's probably 75% of the stuff we work with. The other 25% is, you know, motorcycles, gas powered jacks, and of course giant generators. That's what we do. And of course we do maintenance and, you know, repair of, you know, commercial generation operation systems in buildings as well. So we do a lot, man. We do a lot. We do a lot. Me and my guys.
So I heard quite a few things there. So some of the main things I heard were you have the ability to design, you have the ability to build, you have the ability to repair these things, generators, engines, all kinds of things.
Oh yeah.
So in terms of the skills so the skills, so you're savvy with tools, you know what to use, but did you have to get some general knowledge of generators and how engines work? And
yeah, well, it all depends on what you're doing.
Yep.
When you're talking about internal combustion engine technology, right?
Yeah.
You kind of have to understand how these things work. And usually when you're talking about a internal combustion engine, it usually works in conjunction with electrical theory, right?
Yes.
It doesn't just run independently. You know, you put gas in it and that's it. There's a process when it comes to internal combustion, because you need the combustion part, right? So you have electromagnetic energy, of course, which is usually supplied by said engine. You know, they work in conjunction. Every gas powered engine has something called a flywheel, right? On that flywheel has a magnet on it, and that magnet turns maybe 1,500 RPMs, 300 RPM, 3,000 RPMs, down to 100 RPMs, whatever your RPMs is. And what that flywheel does is it turns with this RPMs, but it turns across something called an armature. And that armature collects that energy, which is electromagnetic energy, and it works its way down through that coil and that wire, and it usually ends at a spark plug. Now, people will tell you that a spark plug creates spark. Anyone that says that, get the hell away from them. They don't know what they're talking about. What a spark plug does is it provides an arc for that electromagnetic spark. That's what it does. It doesn't create spark. What it does is it receives the electromagnetic energy and it creates an arc. And that arc between those 2 points is what provides the ignition to whatever fuel source you have. Spark plugs don't create spark. That's what people, spark plug creates spark. No, it does not. It receives electromagnetic energy and it creates an arc. And that arc of electromagnetic energy is what ignites whatever fuel source you're using for combustion, unless it's diesel. If it's diesel, it works a little different. Diesel has something like a wick almost that kind of goes into the fuel. Okay. Diesel is it's totally different. I mean, because we do diesel stuff too. Diesel's totally different. But when you're talking about internal combustion engines, you're talking about something that works in conjunction with electromagnetic energy. That's how you get your combustion, because you have stages when it comes to anything that's run by gas. You have intake, which is the fuel, right? You have intake, compression, where that fuel is compressed, right? Then you have your power, which is that stroke that happens after the compression. That fuel is ignited, and the ignition inside of that chamber is what forces that piston or that piston system downward. Then you have one more stroke, which is, of course, your exhaust, and that's your spent fuel, your spent carbon, and everything else goes out. So you have to have those elements of any internal combustion engine. You have to have intake, compression, power, and exhaust. And what happens is those cycles continue over and over and over and over and over until your fuel runs out, that is. But that's the basis, that's the heart of an internal combustion engine. That's the heart of it. Without that, you have nothing. You have to have all four of those elements, or the system will not work.
Okay. I have a question here. Actually, I have two. Royston asks, "What's a capacitor?" You know what that is?
Yes.
Okay.
A capacitor. What a capacitor does is it kind of regulates. Now, in power mechanics, it's called a regulator. All right. And what the regulator does is it regulates the amount of energy that's being produced by your flywheel, and it's regulating whatever systems on that engine that run by electricity, right? So it's pulling in the energy, and it's sending electricity to your lights. It's sending electricity to your other electrical controls. It's sending electricity to your electronic PTO if you have it, and then it's taking the rest of it and sending it back through the battery, where that energy is absorbed through the battery and pulled back out again. That's your capacitor when you're talking about power mechanics. Okay.
And then hello, Chris, thank you for being here. Chris asks, is he explaining the Otto cycle? I'm not familiar with the Otto cycle. Are you familiar with that?
The what?
The Otto cycle.
The Otto cycle. When you're talking about the Otto cycle, you're actually talking about more of a I'll give you the definition, right? I'll give you the definition. The Otto cycle has to do with like thermodynamics. All right. You're talking about the working of a spark ignition piston engine, which is what an internal combustion engine is. Okay. You're basically talking about, like, okay, I was just telling y'all about spark plugs, right? Now, when you're talking about an engine, an internal combustion engine, you can use pretty much any spark plug that fits if you want to. But engines use different spark plugs. Why? Because the thermodynamics of the engine are different. Now, just like your car, let's take your car, for instance, right? You can take any spark plug that'll fit in your spark plug chamber and use it. But if that spark plug isn't rated for the thermodynamics of your engine, you're going to burn it out quick. That's why certain engines take a JYC8 spark plug. Some of them take RC17s. Some of them take 535s. You know, they have a different heat rating. That's the only thing different about your spark plugs, because you can take two spark plugs and put them side by side, and both of them will work in an engine that, you know, that it will thread into. But those spark plugs are rated for different thermodynamic processes, thermodynamic measurements. So when you're talking about the Otto cycle, you're talking about the thermodynamics designed for your spark plug for the most part when you're talking about your engine. But also when you're talking about power mechanics and you're talking about, say, small engine technology, small engines are one of the engines that's not liquid cooled. The only liquid cooled small engine is an outboard motor. Your car is liquid cooled. You know, you got it running through your radiator, past your fans, through your water pump, and it runs down through the block of your engine, so it keeps it a constant 220 degrees, 240 degrees. Small engine technology and a lot of diesel technology is different. It is not cooled by liquid. It's cooled by a fan or fins that are attached to your flywheel. And as that flywheel spins, it blows air all across the engine. That's why if you look at like your lawnmower or your trimmer or your go-kart or your generator, it has a shell around it, right? It has a shell that's designed a certain way, and that air blows upward and the shell funnels it around the heated parts of the engine to keep it a particular temperature, to keep it from blowing, to keep it from overheating. Because small engines are not liquid cooled, they are air cooled. That's why your lawnmower has all these plastic shields around it. And I've seen people take these shields off of their trimmers and their lawnmowers, which is stupid, because those shields are there for a reason. It is part of your cooling system. That air is funneled all around those parts of that engine to keep it at a constant temperature. That is part of the thermodynamics of your machinery. And the Otto cycle plays directly into that.
Okay. Wow. So X, as you were talking, my mind is just kind of going, all these ideas are kind of percolating. So when you're talking about thermodynamics, essentially, and this is going to lead to another question that I have. We're talking about the transfer of heat energy, correct?
Yes.
And how that all. Okay. So the reason I was asking those questions is because I want my channel to communicate knowledge of these careers, and so I was trying to distill out what the skill sets were, and it sounds like you have and a knowledge of both chemistry and also physics in what you do.
Yes.
But you also have considerable knowledge of how these systems work. So you're integrating and understanding these machines, designing them, building them, repairing them. You're actively using those two sciences right there. I just want to show people a picture before we go on. We're talking about thermodynamics and heat energy transfer. Some of you all might know this, some of you might not. As a biology major, I had to take general chemistry. I tutored in chemistry, and so we had to know some basic chemical reactions. So Brother X talked about combustion reactions. From my perspective, we're basically talking about taking a hydrocarbon, which is in our gasoline, we're combining it with oxygen, releasing energy in those bonds, and then releasing carbon dioxide and water out to the environment. So going back to the chemistry and the physics, because, you know, if I'm out in a classroom explaining this to young people, it's the knowledge of the systems, the generators, the engines. Did you learn the chemistry and the physics all at once in the classroom, or did you learn this as you were working with your father and out there in the field working on these things?
Well, both. You know, like I told you, as a young child, You know, I was always around this stuff, always working on it with my pops. And, you know, of course, when you get in, you know, when you get into school, you know, you have to learn the mathematics and the science behind it,
Hmm.
you know, and all that kind of stuff. Um, you know, far as the chemistry part of it, you have to understand, um, especially when you're designing, all right, when you're designing an engine that you know you and your guys are going to build, you have to understand the chemistry and the science of said engine and what you're using it for. You know, because you needed to be able to produce a certain amount of torque, you needed to be able to produce a certain amount of power or a certain amount of speed. So how you design that engine and how you put it together is going to dictate all of that. So when it comes to when you're talking about mechanical chemistry, everything has to be exact. You can't fudge it. All right. If it calls for something being a half a millimeter clearance, it has to be a half of millimeter. It can't be a millimeter. It can't be a quarter of a millimeter. Whatever it calls for, it has to be exact. There is no messing up. There is no okay, we'll just fudge it. No, doesn't work that way. Everything has to be exact. There's no messing up because when you're talking about mechanical engineering, especially when you're talking about power equipment, I mean, something as little as a grain of sand can stop your whole system from running. Something as little as a grain of sand. If a grain of sand gets into like your carburation system, if a grain of sand gets in there, it can clog a jet. And when you're talking about jets for carburation, I mean, most of those jets are the size of the head of a needle. So if you get a grain of sand in there, it'll shut your whole machine down. If you were to open up a commercial generator or a bulldozer or a commercial lawnmower, you know, the big ones you see cutting fields. If you was to open that carburation system up and you look inside of that carburetor bowl, that thing is clean enough to eat off of, man. There's nothing in there except gasoline. There has to be nothing in there. I mean, nothing. There can't be water. There can't be oil. There can't be a grain of sand, a piece of grass, nothing. When you open that thing up, a good running engine, that thing is clean enough to eat off of. There's nothing in there because if one little thing gets in there, it'll either stop your machine or make your machine run really, really bad. So there is that. I mean, it has to run clean internally to function properly. That's part of the deal.
Okay. You know, when you were saying that, I was thinking about the Weather Channel had a series called Why Planes Crash.
Mm.
And there was in this one episode, there was a commercial airliner that was flying, I think, over the Pacific, and they were losing visibility. 'Cause they were seeing these sparks and these dots, these sparks outside of the cockpit, and all of a sudden they lost their engines, stopped running, and it turned out that there was a volcano, you know, somewhere in Asia that was throwing dust up into
Mm.
the atmosphere. So there was dust coming into those engines, clogging the engines up.
Oh yeah.
Fortunately, they were able to get them started again, but they couldn't figure out why. They couldn't figure out what those sparks were, and they couldn't figure out why they lost why their engines failed.
Oh yeah.
So,
Oh yeah. Doesn't take much to shut you down. It doesn't take much at all, especially when you're talking about things getting inside of your fuel system. Um, you might can get away if something gets inside of your cooling system, but if it gets into your fuel system, I mean, like uh, we deal with a lot of problems with expired gas or crystallized gas. Those are conditions we run into all the time. What a lot of people don't know, gasoline does go bad. Okay, especially when you're talking about it sitting inside of a plastic tank. It doesn't go bad as quick inside of a metal tank, but it will go bad pretty quick inside of a plastic tank. And what happens is with the gas that we have now, it has a lot of ethanol in it, and ethanol has an affinity for moisture. So what happens is when the moisture gets inside of it, the gasoline will start to crystallize and separate. All right, the parts in it. will separate. So you're talking about a separation of gasoline. So now it becomes almost like varnish. And I don't know if anybody checks their lawnmower that's been sitting for a while. When you open that gas tank, you get this rush smell. It smells like paint varnish or shoe polish or something like that. What that means is that gasoline has went bad. It starts to separate and crystallize. And when I say crystallize, I mean crystallize, where there's little crystals inside of it. You know, they're like little salt crystals. You pour that into your mower or your bulldozer or your trimmer or whatever you have, and guess what? Your carburetor pulls that stuff into the fuel system and it'll shut you down. And not only that, if you have it sitting inside of your carburetor, right? If it sits in there, what it'll start to do is it will start to eat at the components inside the carburetor, because most carburetors, the parts inside of those carburetors are made out of, they're not made out of steel. Most of them are made out of aluminum. And that ethanol combined with that expired bad gas will start to eat at the aluminum and cause the parts to stick to one another and jam your carburetor up. Because make no mistake, most cars don't use carburetors nowadays. Okay, cars have a fuel injection system, so you can get away with burning bad gas in a car because the fuel is injected into the system directly. When you're talking about power equipment and small engines, it has something called a carburetor, and that carburetor is the heart of your system, and that carburetor feeds the gas into the combustion system, as opposed to the fuel being injected into the system. It's being fed in by a carburetor. So bad gas is bad for carbureted systems. It is. That's why I tell people, when you have a carburation fuel system, you must use 93. Do not put 87 in it, okay? Because it's high in ethanol. It doesn't last long, especially when you have a machine, whether it be your commercial lawnmower, your regular push mower that you cut your grass with, or your generator. Do not put that cheap gas in it, because if it sits for 2 months or 3 months, it will start to crystallize and go bad, and it will gum up your whole carburation system. And you'll be calling guys like me, and we're going to charge the hell out of you to flush all that out and rebuild your carburetor. And what you should do, another side note, I'm going to give y'all a little secret. When you're talking about your power equipment that you use, whether it be your generator or whatever, if it becomes wintertime, okay? If it comes wintertime and you're not going to use the piece of equipment, drain all the gasoline out of it. Do not let it sit inside your machine for 2 and 3 months, because when you come out to start it, it will not start, especially if you got 87 in it, because over the course of 2 months of that gasoline sitting still, it will start to separate. It will crystallize, and a small engine will not run on crystallized gasoline. And not only that, it will destroy your carburation system. And at the very least, you may have to get your carburation system rebuilt. And on the high end, you may have to get it replaced. So make sure you do that. If you know you're not going to be using your mower or whatever, your generator for the next 2 months, guess what? Drain all of that gas out of it. Drain it out. Use the gas for something else. Pour it in your car. Do something. And when you get ready to fire it up in another 2-3 months, make sure you put fresh gas in it. That's all.
Okay. Wow. Couple things. I was thinking about. I purchased a Kia last year, and I was looking through the manual at all the specs and all the do's and don'ts. And one of the things it said was not to put gasoline in it that had greater than, it was either 10%,
10%,
10% ethanol.
Yes,
I believe. Okay.
Yes.
So again, everyone, I'm trying to distill out. It will take me years to learn everything X knows, but I'm trying to distill out for myself and for you all, if you're talking to a young person about whether or not they should get into this, if you see they have a talent for this, some of the major takeaways I'm hearing are the ability to design, the ability to build, repair, maintain. But also, if you listen to what X is saying, X has a strong command of chemistry and also physics. That's what I'm hearing as he's talking about all of this. And so I think one of the challenges is that for some of those knowledge sets, for some kids, those can be barriers. So
yes. I mean, let us be clear.
Uh-huh.
If you want to become a mechanical engineer, it's probably best for you to start as a mechanical engineering technician. And what I mean by that is you probably want to know your way around a toolbox. You need to know how to use calipers. You need to know how to use measuring instruments. I mean, you have to know this stuff. The best mechanical engineers, it's been my experience, okay? The best mechanical engineers are the people who started out as mechanical engineering technicians. Why? Because a mechanical engineering technician, he understands how the engine works. He knows what makes the thing tick. He knows the design of it. He knows the gear ratios. He knows how to fix it, okay? He knows how to repair it. He knows how to maintain it. So those are the best people to do, the engineering and designing parts of it, because you need to know engineering systems and how they work to be a mechanical engineer. I mean, you can't design something if you don't know how it works or how it operates. So you need to know the inner workings of mechanics and mechatronics. Some of that too. You need to know that before you can start. Because when you talk about mechanical engineering, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, mechanical engineering is the design of the engine, the analyzing of the engine system. But also you're talking about being able to maintain and repair said system. Because if you don't know the inner workings of something, you can't fix it. You can't just jerry rig it and tie a string on it and use a clothes hanger. You need to know how that systems work, because a lot of the stuff that we work on, man, we work on machinery, man, that's worth $500,000, $600,000, $800,000. So, I mean, you can't screw that up. All right. You're talking about a piece of equipment, man, that's worth like $1 million. So when you get in there, you have to do it right. All right. You have to know what to do. And likewise, you have to know what not to do. All right. And sometimes the what not to do is the most important. All right. The what not to do is the most important. So anyone who wants to get into this field, number one, it pays well. I'll tell you that. It pays good. Even when I was a small, sorry, y'all, the train is like a half a mile from my house. It's running back there.
I can't hear anything.
Oh, okay. When I first started out, I made decent money. Okay, you can make good money as a mechanical engineering technician. I mean, when I started out doing it as a young guy, I mean, as a young dude, I was making $45,000 when I started. I mean, I make way more than that now, but I was making $45,000. You're talking 20 years ago. All right. 20 years ago, I was making that. So, I mean, it's a good field for a young fella to get into. And guess what? It's one of those fields that you can branch off and do it on your own and have your own business. All right. It's one of those fields that's very broad, especially if you have a specialty. All right. Because like I said, I mean, you can go into aircraft, you can go into marine, you can go into weapons. If you're a good mechanical engineer, you can get subcontracted by the military. You can get subcontracted by the federal government. We have contracts with the city and the state where we work on some of their stuff that they subcontract the work to us because either their guys can't do it, they don't have enough guys to do it, or their guys aren't qualified to do it. and you can find yourself being contracted, man, by the city, by the state, by the federal government. I wish I had some federal government contracts because I can charge them $500 for a nail. But I don't have any. I don't have any government federal contracts right now. But it's very lucrative, but it's somewhat demanding, and you have to know your way around a toolbox. Number one, because most of mechanical engineering tools are specialty tools. A lot of the tools that you use in mechanical engineering, you won't be using to do anything else. You'll be using a lot of T-squares, inverted torque bits, security bits, extended pliers, and things of that nature. A lot of metric tools, all right? A lot of metric stuff, a lot of metric T-squares, a lot of metric inverted torque bits, straight torque bits. I mean, a lot of stuff you'll be using that you won't use anywhere else. So you need to have the understanding of that tool set. The more you understand those tools, the more you'll know what they're for, and the better mechanical engineering technician you'll be. And ultimately, it'll make you a better mechanical engineer. Trust me.
Okay, so I have a question here in the chat, which relates to, I'm going to put it up in a second. First of all, everyone, if you're new coming in, please like the stream. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. I want to get this channel to 1,000. I think I'm within 40 some odd right now subscribers. It sounded like you're highly encouraging of becoming a technician, a mechanical engineering technician first. And so my question is that different from, because I think the University of Michigan had a school of engineering. Is that different than the training you'd get on a college campus? On a college campus, are you learning to just build stuff, or?
Well,
do you know? Go ahead.
There's two stages.
Yep.
Like I said, I have an AAS, and what an AAS does is it gets you pretty much ready to work. Yep. When you get a straight associate's, that's when you're trying to further your education. Now, there are many different types of mechanical engineers. There's mechanical engineers that just walk around with a hard hat and a clipboard all day. They never touch a wrench. All right. And then you have the ones like me that 2-3 days out the week, I'm greasy, covered with grease, head to toe, boots greasy, tool belt on, so there's many different kinds of mechanical engineers. Depending on what type of mechanical engineer you want to be, that is going to dictate how you go about it. If you want to be a mechanical engineer that specializes in power mechanics, when you're talking about generators and steam rooms and bulldozers and stuff like that, prepare to get dirty. Yeah, prepare to get dirty. Now, if you are if you want to be a mechanical engineer and you're more into system operation, now that's when you walk around with your hard hat and your nice shirt on all day, and your clipboard and your ink pen and your iPad. You'll probably never get dirty. You pretty much design the systems for the mechanical engineering technicians to come work on. You do the designing, they come in and build. If you're one of those mechanical engineers, you design it, technicians come in, build it. You do the analysis, you check the specs, you do the readings, things of that nature, depending on, what field of mechanical engineering you are working in. But if you're a mechanical engineer like me, you're out there with your guys a lot, because I know my guys, I can design, for instance, 2 months ago, right? Somebody came to us and they wanted a bigger engine on their skid steer. They wanted their skid steer to be bigger. They wanted their engine to be bigger. They wanted it to be faster, more torque. So,
okay, Brother X. So just for everyone who doesn't know, a skid steer is a what?
Oh, a skid steer is a forklift. Okay, for the most part. All right, it's a forklift. They wanted more power. They wanted more speed. Right. So the first thing I have to come in there and do and take measurements of where the engine sits in the engine plates to see if I can do it. I have to do that first. And not only do I have to do that, I have to get up under the machine and I have to take measurements because you're talking about a machine that's ran by the drive shaft of the engine. So I have to make sure I have the right depth and width. And I also have to make sure I have the right belt to pulley ratio to run the hydraulics. So I get in there, I take measurements, and I know what I can use, right? So what I basically did, I took I think we had a 35 horsepower engine and we put a 50 horsepower engine on it, which is a lot bigger engine. So what I had to do is make sure I had enough space, enough ratio to get the engine in. And then when you talk about the PTO, the power takeoff part of the engine, that has to be the right depth. You have to have the right pulleys and you have to make sure you have to have the right belts to run, right? Now, once I do the measurements and I do the design, my guys can come in and install the engine. They can come in and make sure the right belts are on the engine. But what they can't do is come and listen to that engine and hear miss. What they can't do is listen to that engine and hear the belts rubbing inside that engine. That they can't do. Now, if I tell them to take that head off and rebore those pistons at 1/10 of a millimeter, they can get in there and do that. But they can't walk up and listen to that engine or walk up and look at that engine and say, okay, that's a 1/2 inch off. That's 6 inches off. They can't do that. But I can tell them to put a 24-inch belt on there. After they remove the 22-inch belt, they can get in there and do that. That's kind of like the difference between a technician and an engineer with what I do, okay? Because I'm mostly power mechanics for the most part, right? So that's pretty much the distinction between the two. I have a better ear. I have a better eye. I know design. I know what'll fit where. I know what'll work where. When I bring my guys in there, they're pretty much doing the grunt work part of it. They're bringing the engine in. They're taking the old engine out. They're installing the belts. They're installing the circuits, after I told them where they go. Like, this takes 3 circuits. This takes 4 circuits. Put a 24-inch belt here. Put a 22-inch belt here. I'm telling them that. All right. But likewise, I can get in there and do it myself if I have to. I get in there and do it myself. But when you have technicians, what they do is they come in and they do the work that you design for the most part. You do the design, they come in and they put it together. But see, I still turn wrenches. It's not like, like I said, I ain't walking around with a clipboard all day long. I mean, I'm still turning wrenches at least 2 to 3 days out the week. I'm out there with sockets and metric tools and calipers and every damn thing else right along with them. So, but I like doing it, man. I like, I'm an outdoorsy person, and I don't mind getting dirty. So, I mean, I'm right along there with my guys. I don't have them doing like all the work. I'm usually right there with them 90% of the time. I'm there with them.
Okay. We're going to close out with asking you about how you went into business for yourself, why you went into business for yourself. It sounds like you have a crew of guys. One of the things I was thinking about earlier when we were talking about designing and building and making sure everything is exact, because I've kind of distilled out from what you've been talking about, the fact that everything needs to be exact. Everything needs to run. The engine needs to sound a certain way. I was thinking about safety. If you're building things for that people are going to be traveling on bridges, if they're going to be using, the plane's going to be using engines, if people are going to be in a building with a generator, there's a huge safety implication. So our engineers and our technicians really need to take pride in what they're doing and also to take what they're doing seriously, because there are people driving on those bridges, using those commercial airlines and sitting in those buildings, and we're none the wiser. So there's a huge safety component there. Malcolm Smith asked, Everyone, if you're new coming in, please hit the like, please subscribe. I want to get this channel to 1,000. I'm going to drop my Cash App in the chat as well. If you want to make a donation for this,
help the doc out, man.
This is important. Yeah, appreciate that. But this is important information that Brother X is sharing with us. Dr. T.S. Johnson talks about the low reading level of Black boys, for example. We also need to start to communicate how they can get into these industries and make a living for themselves and build. Malcolm Smith says, what advice would you give a student in mechanical engineering? I'm already 2 years in and plan on graduating within 2 years.
My advice to you would be, don't focus, have a specialty, have one specialty that you're really focused on, but continue to learn about all aspects of it, because like we've been saying all night, it's a pretty broad field. So, there's nothing wrong with having a specialty, whether it be, aircraft, marine, whatever, military, but have that specialty and also have some knowledge of other things too, because if you have that, if you have that on your tool belt, no pun intended, if you have that on your tool belt, guess what? You'll never find yourself, lacking in ways to, support yourself. Because if one aspect, luckily for us, our business does pretty well. But if something was to happen and this field was to say everybody just set their bulldozers and cranes and skid steers and backhoes of fire. Now, we don't have anything to design or work on. I could easily shift over and start doing boats. I could easily shift over, because we do motorcycles too. I can easily shift over to motorcycles. I could easily shift over to just doing commercial generators. So it's good to have a specialty, but make sure you're always kind of learning about other things. Because when you're talking about mechanical engineering, whatever field you're in, most of those things are similar. Okay. I talked about the power equipment. I talked about commercial lawn equipment. I talked about commercial generators. I talked about the outboard motors. All right. Most of those things work in similar technology. The technology is pretty similar. So it wouldn't be that hard if you're a mechanical engineer that works primarily on, say, commercial generators. It wouldn't be that hard for you to jump over to like outboard motors, because most of it works on the same theory. There's a few nuances that you would have to pick up, but they pretty much work on the same theory. So if something happens to your commercial generator gig, you can hop right over to outboard motors. You can hop right over to motorcycles. You could hop right over to commercial lawn equipment, because they're similar. So have a specialty, but know about all of them. Trust me, you'll thank me down the road.
Okay. Royston asks, does Brother X have a channel? Yes, he does. Lots of debates over there.
Yes. What, man? You don't know me, Brother Royston? It's TPOT, man, the Prophet of Thought series, man. You're like the one person on YouTube who doesn't know who I am. That's crazy.
I think Royston just found me. So probably new to the sphere and our network.
Yes.
Here.
Yes. It's the Prophet of Thought series, man. It's easy to find. You can find me.
So X, I'm gonna ask you about how you went into business and why you went into business and what that's been like for you. But before I do, I suspect, as with other individuals with your skill set, I suspect you guys kept working since over the last year and a half while other people were sitting at home, right?
COVID was invisible to us. It was like it wasn't even there.
Okay.
But that's how it goes in the blue collar field. I mean,
yes.
Actually, when COVID came in, man, and they were shutting everybody down, I mean, our business picked up 35%. And not only that, I mean, when I'm going out doing mobile calls and all that kind of stuff, I mean, you see blue collar guys. You saw asphalt guys, electricians, painters, plumbers, roofers. Man, it didn't affect us. It didn't affect the blue collar guy. I mean, it didn't affect us at all. I'm being honest here. Like, told you, our business picked up 35%. So there is that when you come to this type of field. I
Yeah.
mean, it's COVID proof, man. It's recession proof. It's because people like us, we are the engine of many things, man. I mean, you guys are sitting in your house right now, man, probably sitting at your desk with your computer and all that kind of stuff. A guy like me built your desk, man. A guy like me built your bureau, man. A
Yep.
guy like me built your bed frame. All right. So, even when you talk about, I know the good doctor here, is a doctor. A guy like me builds the tools and things that he works with, man. We build those things. So guys like me, we're not going anywhere. You can't get rid of us. Not even
Yep.
with COVID. You can't get rid of us. We're here
Yep.
to stay. We're here
Yep.
to
I
stay.
think a lot of people don't appreciate what individuals with your skill set do. I live in Washington D.C. I'll just say that I'm a federal employee. We can't do what we do without the metro running, without those trains running. We're sitting in buildings, comfortable buildings, oftentimes at a computer. We've been working remotely for the last year and a half. We need our infrastructures to be, working at peak performance. So without people who know how to build those things and maintain those things and repair those things, we'd be sitting here twiddling our thumbs like everybody else.
Absolutely. You're sitting in that nice co-op apartment of yours that's air conditioned. Guess what? That building probably has a steam room. And guess what? When things go down, it's a guy like me down there making sure your air conditioner is still running, making sure your water gets hot still, making sure you still have water pressure. It's a guy like me down there that's doing that. So you're welcome. You're
Yes.
welcome.
So this is again, everyone. This is a very, very valuable game. It's important to, when we're talking to young people, to also communicate the fact that there are some careers and functions that are recession proof and that are pandemic proof. So
Yes.
just something to keep in mind, and which is why it's important to share this and also sub the channel, because I want to have more discussions like this. Okay, Brother X, how did you go into business for yourself? What made you decide to go into business for yourself?
I decided to go into business for myself when I was in New York. Uh, I actually wanted to start there, but I did the whole cost analysis, and it, I couldn't do it because it was too much of a financial burden, to be honest. The money I would have needed in New York, I didn't have. But when I came down here, the money I had was like just enough. But the reason why I started my own business is because I wanted to take the leap. I actually want to start my own business like 15 years ago. But at the time, my children, they were still small and all that kind of stuff. So, it wasn't, I think it was possible, but it wasn't financially feasible. Uh, as my children start to grow and get older, and I only had the one kid to kind of fend for,
Mm-hmm.
um, it just seemed the right thing to do. So while I was in New York, I actually researched, what the market was down here, and what the need was and what the demand was down here, and I made the phone calls. I called other mechanical engineers down here and was like, what's the feel like? I even called a couple people and pretended to be a customer. How much would you charge to do this? How much would you charge to do that? I did a lot of that. I did that for like a month. And I discussed it with my wife, and I said, hey, we go down south, we can do this. We were planning on moving to the south anyway. So when I got down here, I decided that I wasn't going to work for anyone. I started my business out of my garage. Okay, that's where I started. I didn't start with a building, and no, I started right out of my garage. Uh, Luckily, I had enough tools from doing it for over 2 decades, so I had enough tools to start it. And it was kind of crazy because it was kind of ghetto how I started. Because when I first came down here, what I would do, I had my niece and nephew, and they were little. They're teenagers now, but they were little then. They were like 7 and 8, and I would make flyers. I'd make like 200 flyers, and what I would do is I would give them a stack of flyers and cards, and we would go out. I would take them, and we would like go out to like one of those hubs, a shopping center, or we would go where we saw landscapers and construction people having lunch. And I would be there, and I would have my niece and nephew hand out flyers to people. Now, the reason why I did that is because, you take a card or a flyer to hand to somebody, be like, I don't want it, take it, throw it on the ground. But if you use the little 6 or 7-year-old kid, they have a tendency to take it. So I would give them the flyers, and they would hand them out to people. And after about 2 weeks of that, I actually started getting phone calls. I met a guy. Well, I ran into a guy that I knew from New York, and he asked me, he said, he was like, X, are you still doing the work? And I'm like, yeah. And shoot, man, next thing I know, man, he was at my house, man, with like 2 commercial rigs. Them things like took up like my whole driveway. And that's kind of where it started. I didn't get a building until I was about 2 years. Yeah. Was doing it for about 2 years before I had started really, because believe it or not, I was actually in a bit of debt the first 2.5 years. I was taking money from other sources, bringing into the business. But what I did is we had decided to move. Okay. We decided to move to another part of town. And when I moved to the other part of town, I went ahead and I moved my business over there. And after being there for, say, 4 to 5 months, business increased by a good 20% at that time. So now I'm able to afford a building. I'm able to hire people, something I couldn't do before. Because in the beginning, I was doing everything myself. Everything. I didn't have anybody. For like the first 2 years, I was doing it all myself. I didn't start hiring people till about 2.5 years in. Didn't get a building till about 2.5 years in. I was doing it out of my garage for like the first 2 years, doing it right out of the garage. But it gradually got better when I moved to a different part of town. I guess a more affluent part of town, you can say. When I moved to a more affluent part of town, business picked up tremendously. So now I've got so much work that I have to hire somebody because I can't do it all by myself. So, and from there, man, it just kind of took off. I've been doing it since 2014, and we're chugging right along, man. I mean, we're trucking right along. I got 2 guys that work with me year round. The business usually picks up greater in the summertime. I have 2 full-time guys that work with me year round. I can have as many as 10 guys, during the main season. All those other 7 to 8 guys, they're seasonal guys. They usually come in around April, and they work with us till September, October, because the season kind of dies, and September, October slows down. It doesn't pick back up till March. So I only have 2 full-time guys. Everybody else that comes around, they may come work for the summer. They may come work for the season. I got one guy, he'll work for like a month, and then he goes back to wherever he goes. A few of the guys, they're like college guys, they come through. And we have a lot of turnaround. We do some turnaround. Some guys don't come back. Some do. It all depends. But it works out, man. I'm planning on actually getting a bigger building, probably March. I wanted to do it this year. I wanted to do it by September, but I'm not going to be able to do it. So because my wife wants us to buy another house, go figure. So I'm not going to be able to do it this year. But next year, March, we're going to go ahead. I want to get a bigger building because, see, I want to be on the map with Goodyear, Firestone, Midas. I want to be right there alongside them. So that's what I'm working towards in March. So, you know, fingers crossed, y'all. Got my fingers crossed, y'all. So
Okay. So, two questions, actually, maybe two or three. The types, because it sounds like you have the knowledge set to work on any number of things. When you moved to that section of town, what kind of jobs were you getting? Were you getting rigs, 18 wheeler tractor trailers to work on? Were you getting, do people want you to go to fix their generators? Like what
yeah.
was it, or was it just across the board, multiple things?
Well, when I got there, because before I came there, I was doing mostly lawn equipment, commercial lawn equipment, them big mowers you see on the side of the road. I was doing that primarily before I moved to the other part of town. And
Mm-hmm.
once I moved to the other side of town, that's when I start getting commercial generators. That's when I start doing more design. I mean, more designing of engines and modification of engines where people want their motorcycle faster. They want their boat faster. They want their boat to have two motors instead of one. All of that is engineering. People who wanted more power on their skid steer, more power on their bulldozer. That's when I start getting that kind of stuff, because when I moved over there, I I guess I was coming in contact with more people who had these things. I ran into more people who had construction companies. I ran into more people who had commercial buildings that had a steam room, or an apartment complex that had a steam room. I wasn't running into those people on the other side of town. All right. I wasn't getting that much of that kind of business, I guess, because it was a part of town where people didn't own those things, if you will. But once I moved to a more affluent part of town, people over there did, you know, because let me be honest here. Here's some honesty for y'all, right? When I first started my business, right? I started my business for the brothers, right? Because I had in mind people like my father, right? I wanted brothers to be able to come to me, get their stuff fixed at a decent price, and get it back to them fast. Okay. That's how I started out. But where I was living at the time, um, I had my business was maybe 5% were brothers. All right. Maybe 5%. And where I was living was a primarily black part of town. All right. Primarily black folks, but only 5% of my business was brothers. All right. Now, I don't know if they just didn't trust coming to me, or the brothers over there just, didn't have it. But when I moved to a different part of town, where the tax bracket is a little higher, okay? Um, I had brothers are now close to 20% of my business now, because once I moved over here, um, brothers had construction companies, brothers had commercial landscaping companies, brothers had, the brothers owned these things. So more brothers were coming to me. All right. And now that I'm here and I'm established with the brothers, I mean, everybody in town knows me. I mean, you're talking about the local, there's brothers have a motorcycle club. We do all the modifications and designing and engineering on their motorcycles. Most of the brothers who have landscaping companies, they come to us. All right. They come to us, hands down. Most of them that I know in the area, they come to us. So brothers will patronize your business, but I think what makes them patronize your business is if they see other people patronizing your business. If they see white people and Latino people patronizing
Mm-hmm.
your business, then I guess they trust you. So, but make no mistake, I mean, the majority of my business is like 65% of it is white people. Uh Another maybe 15%, you know, Yeah, maybe another 15% is Latinos and the rest is brothers. The other 20% is brothers. So that's just how the business is. It's always been like that. Um, it is what it is. I don't know. White people have a tendency to own more stuff than black people. So I guess that's what it is. But that's how my business is structured, and we do well. People here know us, and hopefully I can retire from it in another 5 to 6 years, maybe give it to my grandson or something. That's kind of the plan, because I'm getting old and, I'm getting tired of working. Been working ever since I was about 8. So, it's time to hang up the tool belt and let somebody else come in and do it. Maybe I can collect a little bit of residuals here and there, but other than that, I want to be on my boat fishing. That's where I'm going with it. So only plan on doing this for like maybe another 5 or 6 years, man. Then I'm gonna try to, you know, pass it on off if I can. Whoever
Okay.
wants it, whoever wants it.
Okay. Well, a couple things. I want to thank Aquateki for the Cash App. If anyone else wants to donate, my Cash App and PayPal are there. Um, from what you just said, I just heard that well, the side of town that you live in and that you're doing business in, that matters
Yes.
for business. And also, if you're talented, people will hear. If you're talented and you do good work, people will hear about what you're doing, and that'll draw business to you.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the other take home, um, I saw Rael in the chat earlier. We talk about business and stuff like that. Is that with these skill sets, you can go into business for yourself,
Yes.
and you don't have to work for someone else. You can build your own enterprise.
Mm-hmm. Yes. All you got to be able to do, you got to be willing to put in the work, though. I mean, starting a business isn't easy. I know we talk about, being entrepreneurs and starting your own business and all that kind of stuff, but I mean, it's not easy, man. It's you have to put the work in. And guess what? When you first start your business, man, you're going to be doing everything. You're going to be the labor, you're going to be the executive, you're going to be the accountant, you're going to be the distributor, you're going to be the man who picks up the equipment, you're going to be the mobile guy. You're going to be all of that in the beginning. All of that is going to be you. All that other stuff comes in once you start, you have enough revenue to not only uh, uh pay yourself, pay for whatever you got going on in your house, and pay your bills of your business, because your business is going to have bills too. You're going to have to buy supplies, material, safety equipment. um you're going to need a decent truck, all that kind of stuff. So you once you get to the point where you can cover all of that, all right, no sweat, paying for your business paying for itself. And not only is your business paying for itself, it's paying you and it's paying your other bills at your house. Now you've arrived. Until you can do that, don't even think about hiring anybody. All right? Because you're not going to have enough money. Like I said, the first 2 years, I'm doing it all myself. All right. And I was like barely breaking even. And like I said, like that second year, it almost sunk. Luckily, I had other resources that I could put into it, because most businesses fail, man. In like the first year or two, they fail. I mean, I don't want to disparage anybody, but those are just the statistical facts, folks. I mean, most of them fail in the first year or two. So you have to keep that in mind when you want to go into business for yourself. But that being said, in a field like this, you're probably more likely to be able to start your own business, as opposed to if you're a bank teller or working in someone's office, or you're probably more likely to be able to start your own business if you work at this somewhere else for a little while and learn the business. Don't just learn how to do the work, because if you're going to start a business, you need to learn the business. You need to understand inventory. You need to understand supplies, materials, accounting, You have to learn billing. You better learn how to do estimates. You better learn what it costs to run that building with the lights, the water, the gas. Learn all of that stuff. Learn it all before you get ready to strike out on your own. All right. Because what that does is lessen the probability of the business failing. If you better know at least 90 to 95% of that business before you strike out on your own. I can tell you that. And it probably will help to call around, do some research, read some books, talk to people who do it. Okay? Talk to people who do it. Even if you are a mechanical engineer or a mechanical engineering technician, talk to some other mechanical engineers. Talk to some people who have their business. Get all the information you can. There's no such thing as too much information when it comes to this kind of thing. Talk to people, make the phone calls, go to the library, get some books, do all of that stuff, man. When you want to strike out on your own, make sure you are ready. Make sure you are ready, and don't let fear stop you. Don't let fear stop you. If you have the knowledge, you've done the research, you've wrote out a good plan, take the leap. Take the leap. That's what I would say. Take the leap. If you feel you're ready, take the leap. But just make sure you're ready first. Don't go into it half-cocked. Don't go into any business half-cocked, because I'll say again, most businesses fail in the first couple of years. That's all.
Okay. I'm going to read some comments from Rael here, and then I'm going to ask you one more question, then we'll wrap up. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Alonzo Hall, y'all advisor, but Rael says, hook up with Alonzo Hall, Prophet of Thought in life insurance game. He's in the life insurance game. He can set you up so that you can retire the way you want.
Yeah, I'm familiar with Brother Hall.
Okay.
I know who he is. He's been on my channel a time or two. I'm familiar with him.
Rael says, working for others is an investment in that person's dreams. Starting your own business is the ultimate investment in yourself and your dreams.
Exactly.
Agree.
Well said.
And Riley said, this just came in, I needed to hear that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Take the leap, brother. Do it. If you feel like you're ready and you feel like you got all your T's crossed and your I's dotted, man, go ahead and jump out there. And I'll tell y'all another secret. There's a lot of talk about six-figure people. Let me tell you something. When you're talking about a field like this, especially when you talk about blue collar, you are more likely to reach 6 figures doing something like this. I'm telling you, I'm being honest here. You're more likely to reach that 6-figure goal doing a trade like this. I'm telling you, I know plumbers who make 6 figures. Okay. I know contractors that make 6 figures. I know electricians who make 6 figures. So the money is there. Okay. You're willing to put in the work. The money is there, brothers. I wish more brothers would get into these fields, man, because let me tell you something. Not only can you make a good living, man, not only could you make a good living, this is one thing where you can branch off and start your own company. And I hate to use a crazy cliche. If I did it, anyone can do it. But if I did it, anyone can do it if they're willing to put in the work. Okay? That's all I'll say to you, brothers, man.
Yep. Riley says, where can I follow you? PLT, right?
Yep. The Prophet of Thought series on YouTube. Prophet of Thought on Instagram. I'm trying to remember I think my Twitter is TPOT Media. I don't really be on it like that, but I do have them. We got a Prophet of Thought Facebook page, which I don't even admin. I don't know what they do over there. My sister-in-law, she admins. I don't know what the hell they do over there, but I do have it. So just punch in, go on YouTube, punch in the Prophet of Thought series. I'll come up, of course, and you can follow us. But a little side note, we don't really talk much mechanical engineering over there. I think we've
Right,
had
right. There's a lot of debating going on.
yeah. We talk about debates and I do interviews and other kind of stuff. But we do talk about blue collar trades from time to time. Yes, we do. You will find videos over there where we do talk about blue collar trades, what they pay, what you need to get into particular fields. Yes, we do talk about it from time to time. We do one every couple of months. People aren't really interested in it. I guess that's why we don't do them that much, but we do talk about it. So you go through my catalog, you'll find a handful of videos that'll, be discussing blue collar trades, mechanical engineering, mechanics, carpentry, plumbing. You go in there, you'll find it. You have to look, but you'll find them in there. You have to look through all other stuff first, and then you'll find, some blue collar talk in there. So
Yeah. Well, I'm interested in having more talks like this over here. Again, it's the skills combined with the business training, and you can build something for yourself. The other thing is that at some point, we started pushing the white collar careers more, but I think we need to talk about the pros and cons of each. As a having a white collar career myself, you have to stay in and get the education much longer. I was fortunate to come out with very little debt, but if you get those blue collar skills and you're smart, you can start making your money right away. Combine that with the business training, and you're up and running.
Oh yeah.
So I think we need to do a better job of getting that out, and not just when getting the skills, not just thinking about those skills in the context of working for someone else.
Yes. Because when you're working a job, and I always thought this way. I always thought that working this job was preparing me. Working the job was preparing me to have my own business eventually. I always knew I was going to go out and strike out on my own. I always knew I was going to do that. But when you're talking about this stuff and you mentioned debt, if you get out there and you do this blue collar stuff, you're probably going to be in less debt. And I'll tell you a secret. Most of this stuff, you don't really have to go to college. See, me, I went to a technical college, right? But I look back on it now. What I learned in technical college, I probably could have learned in a vocational program. Okay. They have vocational programs nowadays, man, that you can go in there, man, and be in there for 14 months and come right out there and be working in like 2 weeks. All right. You don't have to go to a technical college. Not that I'm knocking a technical college, but in reality, man, what I learned in college, I could have learned at a vocational program. So, that's another thing. You're going to have very little debt. All right. You'll have very little debt. And not only that, you're going to find work like that. You're not going to be like looking for work forever. You're going to find it just like that, man. You are. And you're going to start off with a pretty good salary. All right. You got mechanical engineers out there, man, coming right out of school now, man. They're making $65,000, $70,000 right off top, okay, to start. All right. And that's good money for a young 22-year-old guy still living with his mama. All right. You become a mechanical engineer. Even if you become a mechanical engineer technician, you'll be out of mama's basement quick. All right. You'll be out of mama's basement quick. So, it's something to think of. And not just when you're talking about mechanical engineering. A lot of those blue collar trades that are out there, man. The blue collar field, I know a lot of people think that blue collar fields are nothing. But like I said, go to my channel and check out the thing that we did, me and BMT, we did on blue collar fields. You got blue collar fields out there, man, where you're starting with $85,000 a year to start. So, there's money to be made in it. All right. There's money to be made in it. And not all of us can be doctors like the good doctor here. All right. Not all of us are going to be that. Some of us are going to be guys who work with our hands. That's who we're going to be. And trust me, you won't regret it, man, especially if you're mechanically savvy already. These are the people I would tell to get into blue collar trades. If you're a person who likes to work with your hands, if you're a person who knows your way around a tool box, okay? And I mean any type of toolbox. It doesn't just have to be a mechanical toolbox, any type of toolbox. And you're a type of person who may not be for being inside or sitting at a cubicle, or that may not be for you. Like me, I've always been a guy, I always liked outdoors. So, because I tried blue collar work. I used to work at a job where I sat at a desk all day. I hated it. This I enjoy. If you enjoy working with your hands, if you enjoy working on systems, developing systems, building things, if you have a building type mind, blue collar work is for you, man. And you can make good money too.
Okay. I'm going to read some of these comments here, and I have one question, and then we'll wrap up. So Shonda says, that's real talk, Brother X. All the mechanical engineers and other engineers I know are making six-figure salaries. Rael says, being in business gives you a sense of exhilaration you can't describe unless you're in it. As a wise man once said, formal education will make you a living. Self-education will make you a fortune.
There it is.
Aman Perry says, you can start your own business faster in the blue-collar fields. And Sir Anthony says, I needed to hear this, Brother X. I'm in the process of building an anodizing shop. It's kind of scary because of the unknown.
Don't be scared, man. Don't let the fear stop you, Brother Anthony. That's one of my long-time supporters right there. Okay. Don't let it stop you, brother.
I'm unfamiliar with what an anodizing shop is.
I think I know what it is, but I don't want to say so.
Okay.
What is anodizing?
Yeah, Sir Anthony, if you want to give us just a brief few words in the chat there. Rael says, Sir Anthony, and on the other side of fear is your success. Fear is just a bridge you have to cross to get to your destination. And Kareem says, please share and subscribe. Let's get this channel to 1,000K, everybody. So let's go. So Brother X, last question. So the guys you hire, were they like you back in your 20s? Were these younger guys who were just trying to get on, or were they more experienced guys? Or
yeah, well, all the guys that come to me, I of course put them through their paces when I first started. They had to know their way around a toolbox, because if they don't know that, I don't have any use for them. Okay. If you know tools, there's a pretty good chance that you know what the tools are used for. So if you don't know your way around a toolbox, I have no use for you, because you don't know what the tools are. That means you're not going to know what they're for. And like I said, we work on machinery that's worth $500,000, $800,000. I can't have somebody out there that don't know what they're doing. They can't be out there turning bolts with vice grips. Okay. So, I need them to know what to do. But now, I have my main guy now. He vets them now. I don't, by the time you meet me, you're probably already hired. So, I don't even do that anymore. My guy, he does most of the hiring. He'll call me and be like, yo, boss, man, I like this guy. You need to check him out. And I'll come and I'll look at him, see what he does. And if he's, up to snuff for what we need, we'll bring him in. But I don't even do the vetting anymore. I got my main guy does that. I mean, my main guy, he's been with me since the beginning. He's been with me since 2016. So, he was like the first guy I hired. Yeah, back in 2016. So he's my main guy. He has the keys to the shop, take a truck home, that kind of stuff. And I usually send them to him. If you can get past him, you might have a job. A lot of guys, when he talks to them, he vets them pretty much the same way I would. And some guys, he'll be like, yeah, I like this guy. Some guys are like, oh, this guy's a flop. I trust his judgment. So, you won't be dealing with me if you come, you come to work for us. You have to go through my guy first. And if he likes you, you get a job. Like I said, by the time you meet me, you're probably already hired. So.
Okay. Brother X, you want to hang out for a few more minutes, and some of the guys want to come in and say some words. Is that cool?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay,
I'm
guys,
free.
I'll
I'm
open
good.
up for a little bit. I haven't eaten yet, so it's 9 o'clock.
Uh-oh.
So we'll go for just a little bit longer. But I just want to wrap up, Brother X. Appreciate you coming and talking about this. Perhaps I can have you back at some point if you'd like to come back and talk some more.
Whenever you want, man. I'm honored that you wanted to have me on, Doc.
Oh, man.
I have a lot of respect for you, Doc. So
I appreciate that.
You wanted me on.
It's mutual. So to wrap up, as a scientist, we ended up on business. But what I heard Brother X say about his skill set and his training, he has proficiency, or mechanical engineers must have proficiency in designing things, building things, repairing things, and maintaining things. And if you listen to what Brother X said, Brother X also has a knowledge of both physics and chemistry, because the word thermodynamics came up quite a bit in our discussion. So in addition to, again, designing, building, repairing, maintaining, but also there's a knowledge of chemistry and physics in there. I just dropped the link, guys. If someone wants to click it, and let me make sure it's there. Sometimes, yep, it's showing on the YouTube side. We'll go for a little while longer.
Yeah.
If anyone wants to come up.
Yeah, I can hang out. I can hang out for a little while. I'm not doing anything.
Okay, if you haven't subbed, please sub. If you want to make a donation, my Cash App, I'll throw that there, my PayPal. And Rael is here. What's going on, Rael?
Peace, Dr. Dunbar, Prophet of Thought, the chat
What's
as
up,
well.
brother?
Great show. I'm glad that there was some brothers in there that was showing trepidation. Obviously, when you are going from a worker mentality to an owner mentality, it's just a shift in the consciousness that has to take place. It is the unknown. It is an unknown, and so there's nothing guaranteed in it. But we already have this experience as men. We just know that there's nothing guaranteed in life anyway. So with that, there's no need to be fearful of that. But the beautiful thing about the trades is that I think this is one of the most slept on things for men, especially in the trades, because most of the world is developing. And so now we have such a connection with not this country, but other places in the world who are desperate for tradesmen, to the point that they're willing to pay lots of money for people with backgrounds in trades. Mike V was talking about how when he went to Africa, shout out to him and the Black Brain Trust, he was talking about how in his experience talking to Africans, they were talking about how things that they needed from people in terms of development. And so I asked him what were some of the things that they needed, and he was like, things like, I think, what did he say? I put it on my phone. Builders, obviously, when it comes to development, you need infrastructure built and things like that. And so the beautiful thing about being able to integrate with some of these other countries is that you don't have all the red tape that you have like you have in the United States. So if you can get yourself connected to these people, you can get paid pretty handsomely and fairly quickly, if you are representing that skill set that they need, because they need it, and they need it fast. So they haven't had the labor laws and things like that put into place yet that actually kind of slows down development. So in one vein, especially if you come in with paper from the United States, that paper carries a lot of weight in other countries. People will really value that degree or that certificate. And so, the world is opening up in such a way that opportunities are not just here. Opportunities are opening up abroad. We have a lot of people from the continent, for example, that be in the spaces that we have. They talk to us, they participate in conversations. They're constantly saying, "Hey, come over here, man. We can do stuff over here." So I just think that for Black men, especially in the United States, I mean, and the thing about it is, especially in places like Africa, according to Mike V, they were talking. He said they were talking about how they would rather be doing business with us anyway. So we already have a leg up on a competition, so to speak. And so we just really need to use the opportunities that we have in America, following the traditions of Booker T. Washington, who the first thing that he set up in the United States was a trade school. The first thing he set up was a trade school. And that wasn't by accident. He knew that in order to build the infrastructure of Black America economically, they needed to have the trades necessary that they knew that white people were going to need so they could get paid, so they could take that money back to their community and build up their community infrastructure from an economic standpoint. So this is just, right in line with that way of thinking. We wouldn't even be here as a group if it wasn't for the Black skilled tradesmen like Brother X, like my great grandfather who had a 6th grade education, but he taught himself carpentry. And he built 3 houses for our family. He had a contract with the U.S. Navy as well. So we have a long history of this as men. I think there are some actually programs that's out here that if you're in these trade programs, there might be some stipends you can get, I think, from the Department of Labor while you're in these programs as well. So they're constantly, I know I'm here in Texas, and they're constantly talking about how they need people to fill these types of jobs, because it's such a proliferation of jobs in this field. I mean, you got people like Mike Rowe, who's constantly out here trying to push men to get into actual trades, because a lot of the older men, like Brother X, for example, they're winding down their careers. They're winding down their careers. They want to get out. They've been doing it for 20 plus years. So, they want to get out, and they need some new blood, some new energy in there. And so you really have a lot of opportunities out here as young men. We didn't have these type of forums when we were young, where we could talk to, cats that's older than us in the game to give us a kind of blueprint on how to get it done. Y'all really have a really distinct advantage. And, I would, suggest taking advantage of it. And also from the business standpoint, some of the most successful people have failed at business multiple times, and they just kept getting back on the horse until they finally got it right. So, don't even look at business as something that's failing. Plenty of people go to college and they fail too. Nobody ever says that, to not get a college degree. They still will tell people to go to college and get a college degree. Not, in spite of the fact that there are people who flunk out all the time. So it just depends on what you put into it. Business is really about your drive, your ambition, and your desire. As Brother X was talking about how he started his business, you heard him talk about his dream, his drive, his desire to be successful no matter what. The tactics that he used to employ to market his product was very ingenious. And so he did whatever he had to do to make his name known. And so that's truly an inspirational story from a Black man. As much heat as we get out here, this is a testament of a Black man who actually literally got it from the mud and really produced at a high level. So salute to Brother X.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. I do. Like I said before, that wasn't easy, but anything worthwhile never is anyway. So, if you expect it to be easy, man, you might as well not even do it. All right. Don't even start. Just stay doing what you're doing. If you expect it to be some easy road, it's going to be difficult in the beginning, but guess what? It gets easier as time goes on. Um, you have to make it become easy. It's not just going to be easy. You have to make it be easier for yourself. Uh, like now, I mean, as I work now, it's totally different of how it was 7 years ago. 7 years ago, I had one beat up truck. I was working out of my garage. I was doing everything, and I was in 50 places at one time, not just physically, but mentally. But you fast forward, man, 7.5 years down the road, a lot of that stuff I don't have to deal with. I can pick up the phone and have one of my guys go somewhere where I can't get to. Um, I have guys who take care of the inventory, I mean, I don't, it's gotten easier over the years. All right. It's gotten a lot easier over the years. And I think that's what it's about. Um, when you start a business, you'll find yourself doing a lot, but eventually you'll get to the point where you'll still be doing a lot, but you won't be doing as much because now you can afford to pay other people to do these things. You can pay other people to do these things now. I mean, and the main thing behind starting a business for me was being able to call my own shots. Uh I decide what work I do now and what work I don't, because we turn some work down. If we don't think it's worth, if they're not willing to pay us what I think it's worth, we're like, nope. When you work for somebody, you don't have that option. Whatever they want you to do, you have to do it. All right. And this is the main difference. Okay. When you work for someone, people tell you what to do. When you run the business, they ask you. They ask. They don't tell you anything. Like if you're working for someone, they'll come in there and they'll be like, X, I want this thing done by Friday. When you working on your own and run your own business, people ask you, oh, X, do you think it's going to be done by Friday? Nope, Tuesday. That's the major dip. That's the difference I love the most. No one tells me anything. They ask me.
Well, also too, the one thing that you see, well, first of all, the best experience that you can get in understanding and learning business, I would say, is starting a business from the ground level. You learn every aspect of the business. And so, um, but as you grow into your knowledge in business, business operates on the law of attraction. So the more you move in terms of the knowledge that you seek in terms of business, you will start to find that you will start attracting that knowledge. You will start attracting people that can help you grow in it as well. Um, it's weird how it works like that. I mean, it's just, I don't know. That shit is like damn near esoteric the way it works. You know what I'm saying? Um, and so there's many times I'm looking for information on certain business aspect I'm looking for, and something else that I wasn't even looking for, but I needed it, will appear as I'm searching for something else. I thought I needed this particular thing, but I found this instead, and I really needed this. And that has just, it constantly happens. It happened earlier today. I was looking for some information on something else in healthcare, and I found something that was dealing with training employees that I really needed in terms of how I'm shifting a kind of aspect of what I'm going to be doing. And I mean, it came right in time because I have been constantly being had certain things put in my face that kept trying to tell me to shift into another way of thinking. And I kept pushing back against it because I was like, no, I want to do it this way. And then I just got, you know, two critical books in my face in the last couple of days that really showed me that I needed to stop being hard-headed and shift. And it just works like that. You know, you can have your mindset in a certain direction, but it will just come to you in a different vein that could be the very vein you need to shift to so you can actually be much more successful. And that's just the way it works, because business is about abundance. And so once you shift into an abundance mindset, you'll be surprised how the things that you need to increase or to have that abundance, you'll be surprised how information or people can come into your life that can help you actually grow in that abundance when you didn't even know that you actually needed what they were bringing or what that source of information was coming to you, was providing you with.
Okay. Guys, we'll go for about 10 more minutes. Rael, there's a question here. I think that's fitting based upon what you just said. Riley says, do you all have any books that helped you shift your mindset? I'll let you take that one.
For a Black man, I think that one of the first books that all Black men need to have on their shelf is Reginald Lewis's Why Should White Guys Have All the Fun? I think this is a critical book for all Black men, especially for those who want to get into business. Because as far as I'm concerned, his book is a personal manifesto to Black men specifically. It's to any man in general, but his book is specifically to Black men, because he wanted, based on his experience in the sector that he was in, I think in finance, stuff like that, he wanted Black men to get in the game and compete. He saw all the money that was out there, and he got a piece of it. And he wanted to show Black men, hey, it's possible for you too. A lot of people don't know that he was actually one of Jesse Jackson's major contributors on his presidential run. He was helping. He was a Black man that was helping fundraise and bankroll Jesse Jackson's presidential campaign. But that's because he had a lot of money. He had a lot of money. He had a lot of connections. It's a great documentary on PBS on it. It's only 30 minutes, but it's still a great documentary. Very informative. He was taken too soon, because he was a trailblazer. I mean, he was our Booker T. Washington of our time, like, to me, as far as I'm concerned. And I think it's just a very, very insightful book that Black men should read. I think another book that I will say is a very important book is How Rich People Think. Very informative when you see the ways in which people with money view actually going through the process of making money. They understand that money is a tool. And once you understand money is a tool, it's no different than a hammer and a nail. You're hammering a nail you're using to build something. Well, financial tools you use to build wealth. And so once you understand the tools and how they work, you can start using these tools to your advantage. Another book I would say is another one that I think is funny, but I like the way he writes. It's Robert Kiyosaki's Why A students work for C students and Why B students work for the government. It's a great book. That's a great book. Those are just a few. In order to be in abundance mindset, this is something that people hear me talk about all the time. Black people as collective, we just have a very negative relationship with money. Very negative. And because we have a very negative relationship with money, it means that we're going to more than likely have a very negative relationship with each other. So in order for Black people to actually change, as far as I'm concerned, we're going to have to change our relationship to money. That means we're going to have to take things like life insurance, for example, much more seriously, because we all know we're going to die. So if you want to help change the trajectory of your family in terms of wealth creation, one of the easiest ways that you can do that without doing anything else is getting a life insurance policy, because we know you're going to die. So if you care about the next generation doing better, then guess what? That's one of the easiest ways that you can do and set them up. You can completely change the trajectory of your family in one generation with something like that. So, but we have people who just have a negative view and like, well, nobody ever gave me one, so why should I do it? But it has to start somewhere. You know what I'm saying? But also too, as we learned from Alonzo Hall, shout out to him, there are ways that you can benefit from life insurance while you're still alive too. So that's even more of a reason that Black people don't even have an excuse. So obviously we need to be much more knowledgeable about money. We have to have a better relationship with money. Many Black people are Christian, and we know that a lot of Black people love to use the scripture that says, well, people misquote it by saying money is the root of all evil, but that's not what it says. It says the love of money is the root of all evil. But it also says in Ecclesiastes 10:19, I think wine makes merry and wine makes laughter, food makes merry, but money is the answer for all things. And the reality of the situation is money is energy. So if you got money, you can pretty much solve most of your problems. I mean, you just can. And so we have to start really looking at money being that tool, because every generation shouldn't be starting at ground zero broke. You know what I'm saying? With zero and no trust fund. At some point, like, we have to start using the same tools that other groups of people are using. Me and Alonzo, we were talking on the phone recently, and he actually did a show on an article I had sent him about how it was showing how Mexicans were using life insurance to preserve their wealth and increase their wealth, even people who were not even citizens of the country. So people are using the financial infrastructure of the United States as foreigners because it's such a stable financial infrastructure to grow to preserve their wealth and to grow it at the same time. We have a legal status here, so we should be using the same tools to grow our wealth and help preserve it as well. So those are just some of the books that I would recommend to get people started in terms of changing their mindset towards money.
Oh yeah. I mean, me, I don't have any of those good titles like Brother Rael. What book kind of motivated me was The Art of War, and it sounds kind of counterintuitive, but because what I do for a living, especially here, this is a white boy sport like hockey, right? And I think I'm one of maybe 7 Black mechanical engineers, in this area, in the whole county, and it's like 1.2 million people here. I think I'm one of 7. And when I got ready to start this, I had detractors who said, "Oh, X, you're not going to be able to do that. The white boys, they got it on lock." I heard all that kind of crap. But see, I had read The Art of War. So what that made me do is realize that for me to be able to be successful in this field and make my mark, is I had to get inside of it. I had to get inside of this field so I can make it effective and make it so it's not just a white boy sport. So The Art of War was one of my inspirations, folks. As crazy as that sounds.
Okay, I'll throw in The Richest Man in Babylon. That's a good first read, or a good set of first reads, because it kind of starts you thinking about that money mindset. Yeah. Okay, yeah. I think I'm going to go ahead and shut things down at this point. We're at 2 hours and 14 minutes. Rael, thank you for coming up. Brother X, do you have any parting shots? Any final words you want to say?
The only thing I can say is, of course, obviously, thank you, Dr. Dunbar, man, for inviting me, man. I feel like it was an honor and a privilege to be on your platform, my brother. Um, and for all of you out there who want to get into any field, not just mechanical engineering, but any field, I'll say again, if you think you're ready, do it. Don't let fear stop you. Don't let the competition stop you, and definitely don't let people convince you that you can't do it. Okay? Don't let people convince you that you can't do it. If you got the confidence in yourself, man, and the desire to do it, man, and the ambition, and you're willing to put in the work, man, you're ready. Especially if you have all these other things. If you have all your other ducks in a row, you are ready, man. And be focused on making it a success. I know we spoke about how many businesses fail in the beginning, but let your primary focus be making this thing a success, no matter what you have to do to make that happen. Be focused on making it a success, and there's a pretty good chance that it won't fail, and neither will you. And you'll be able to provide a good living for yourself, a good living for your wife, and children and everything else. And guess what? By the time you get old, okay, by the time you get old and retire, guess what? Not only will you be able to enjoy a decent retirement, man, you'll be able to leave something behind, man, for the people that you care about. That's all.
Okay. Well, Brother X, thank you. We have to do this again. Brother X shared a lot of valuable information with us about the mechanical engineering field. We ended on business. And business, I think we need to get to a mindset where it's not just about getting these skills to get a job, but also we can take the skills and create businesses and create other things. And so I want to have more discussions like this on the channel. I talk about my training in the biological sciences, and I give you guys a lot of facts and principles, sometimes relating to what's going on in the world right now. I just dropped 2 videos that relate to that. But I think it's important it's about the skills and how to take those skills and build and create things. And also for the young people in our communities, trying to give them access to these skills and trying to give them access to this information, because there are whole communities who don't know anything about pharmacology, toxicology, or mechanical engineering. Some kids are naturally creative and naturally proficient with their hands and building things. There are career fields out there for them where they can put those skills to good use, and also they can do things like build businesses. So I want to use this channel to disseminate more of that information. I'm not just sitting here talking about these things just for the hell of it. I find them interesting, but but we don't talk about these things enough. That's what I'm trying to say. So, and our economy, the world is moving in a direction where these science and technology skill sets are becoming more and more prominent, and people who don't have them are going to be left out in the cold, so to speak. So, thank you to everyone. Please like, share, and subscribe. I think the subscriber count is 954 now, so I need 46 more to reach 1,000. So if you're watching this on the playback, definitely please hit that subscribe button. Over on my original channel tomorrow night, I'm going to have a talk with Ron Wills, for those of you who are familiar with him. So that should be fun. And I think that's a good place to close this out. So everyone have a good night. Thank you for watching. And as always, remember that your attitude determines your altitude. Take care, and I'll talk to you the next time. Bye-bye.